Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film would become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, podsters or podroonies, if you prefer. We are back again for another podcast. This is part 2 of our Christopher Nolan films 2 episodes. Of course, this is the part where we have a look at your Instagram responses from the previous episode, and that previous episode was on Steven Spielberg Films 2, another sequel episode, and The Beauty of Cinema went with Hook. The Pint Pop podcast went with Jaws. The Truth Tank podcast went with 3. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And yourself, Heather, went with Schindler's List.
So typical. The bleak one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Schindler's List, I mean, it's a great bunch of films there. I mean, it's so impossible. Like Christopher Nolan, it's so impossible for me to, like, rank these guys' films. It's so hard.
Yeah, and I think same with, with Spielberg and with Nolan and with Scorsese and all these directors who have so many great films.
Everyone's going to have different.
Yeah, but also even
rankings.
Me can sort of say
different choices.
There's a difference between favorite and best. So, although I do wonder, Schindler's List is both for me and Spielberg, because I do love something bleak. But it's definitely, I think it's without question his best.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably my favorite, even though it's bleak as all hell. But it's just, I do find it very rewatchable, and it does move, and I don't feel the length, and I don't revisit it very often. But I do really, really love that film. And
yeah, I desperately want to revisit it for sure. I haven't seen it in a long time, and my dad always bangs on about that he was able to see it at the BFI cinema at the time. No drinks, no food.
Yeah,
just watched Schindler's List for 3 hours or so.
I saw it in cinemas when it came out. Yeah, I saw it in cinemas when it came out, and yeah, it was a time. Yeah, it's just so emotional. It's just that last scene as well. It's like with the rocks on his grave, and it's just
the real
so
people.
Memorable.
Relatives. Yeah. What I'm desperate to revisit it because Michael Haneke has said that he is not a fan of the film because he has said he doesn't like kind of this sort of the direction style of creating a notion of suspense with the shower scenes. Like you have the shower, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, and that's not, he doesn't feel that's appropriate when dealing with this kind of subject matter to bring suspense into the / tension into the situation with making this type of film. So I'm just kind of, I want to watch it to try and see that point of view, whether he is wrong or right about that,
I mean, I think with Spielberg, and I've just recently done a Spielberg draft podcast, so I've kind of been very Spielberg coded for the last week or so. I didn't revisit Schindler's List because it wasn't really somewhere I was necessarily going to draft because of the categories we had, and I know that film. I know what's good about it. Yeah, I haven't thought about it in that aspect, but I think the thing about Spielberg is that he wants his films, as horrible as it sounds when we're talking about Schindler's List, to entertain. I mean, this film is 3 hours long. And at the same time, he does want to bring a message across and have it to be a learning experience, that this should never happen again. And also the general message of one man can save the lives of many people just by, what he thinks is a small action. And, it's just what he could have saved one more, all this kind of thing. So, and I think it's difficult because if you don't have something to keep the narrative going, even if it's suspense with the shower scenes or whatever, it's going to be tricky to have everybody stay for those three hours. So I understand. I see what Hanneke is saying. I understand, but I think it's important for people to engage with the content. And if they're just going to switch off because it's boring, it's black and white, and oh my God, this is depressing, they're not watching it all the way through. And that's what Spielberg wants. He wants them to watch the whole film. So he has to maybe use some kind of tricks of the trade to do so. But yeah, it is always a bit, there's also, some films which you watch were also very heavy with elements of humor in them. And you think, well, okay, I'm not comparing this film to Schindler's List, okay? Just disclaimer. But there was a lot of chat when Jojo Rabbit came out. Please, I'm not comparing. Yeah. Oh my God. But it was the same thing. It's like, are we allowed to joke about this? Like, can we make this whole situation completely ridiculous? But as I say, I don't love the film, but I see
works
what they're doing because it works. Because they're making Hitler and the whole idea of Hitler out to be completely ridiculous, which is possibly going too far. But yeah, I don't know. It's just ways of, I think, of bringing across the fact that this can never happen again. It should never happen again. And how you go about that message or that lesson is in the filmmakers and the screenwriters' hands. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Going back to Chris Nolan for part 2. Yes. So my choice then for part 2, I am going with Interstellar. Not because it's like one of my favorites necessarily of Chris Nolan's work. I would still put maybe Dunkirk as my favorite still, and Oppenheimer up there as well, and The Dark Knight. Oh, I'm just going to list all of them now.
Secretly, Interstellar's last.
But the point is, Interstellar has never been my favorite. And I'm picking this as sort of as an investigation pick, because every time I go on social media and kind of scroll for a while and there's like, the best sci-fi films of all time, Interstellar is always there. And I'm like, is it though? I'm not sure. I mean, it's extremely good for what it is and the ideas it's going for and the filmmaking, etc. But it's not without flaws. It's not without obvious flaws for me. And I always find it really fascinating that it comes up so much with so many people on social media, especially, certainly younger people, that Interstellar is just, maybe it's their 2001 or their E.T. or whatever, I don't know. But I just don't see it personally of why it's right up there with the best sci-fi films.
It's one of the highest of his. So. Yeah, it's one of the highest of his on IMDb. If you place any kind of value on IMDb, because obviously, Avengers films are also really high up on that list.
Of course.
And I want to say Dark Knight is probably the highest, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like a 9.1 or something.
Yes, top 10 for sure. And I think Inception is quite high, and I think Interstellar are quite high. There's a few more in the top 250. But yeah, it is very. But you've also got just as many people, I feel, who really don't like it.
Yes.
I don't know how many people are like, you, and maybe have it somewhere in the middle, not revealing my list where I have it. But it's a lot of people, it's either one or two, or it's down with...
Right at the bottom.
Following. And Tenet, and The Dark Knight Rises. Like, let's be clear. Those are the ones that are most often down the bottom. And a lot of people have Interstellar down there as well. And it's like, okay, interesting. Not quite Marmite, like some films are.
Definitely explores some really big ideas that I think certainly rub some people up the wrong way. Not me personally. I think I definitely respect him going there. But there are other elements that I think that definitely could be better, for sure. And we'll certainly get into it. But initial reactions for you, Heather, though, what did you make of it the first time?
Right. So Interstellar is a funny one. Despite being massive Chris Nolan fan, saw Memento very early, didn't realize it was Chris Nolan. But then, the Batman and then the Prestige and then the Batman trilogy and then the whole finishing of the trilogy in 2012 with Dark Knight Rises, which is one of the most incredible cinematic experiences I've ever had. No matter what I think of the actual film, it's very hard to separate from the cinematic experience, which was incredible. And then I don't know why, but I didn't see Interstellar in cinema when it came out. And I don't know why. And I don't understand why. but I didn't. And I remember that my first watch of Interstellar, and I'm sorry, Sir Chris, I know you're not listening. Well, maybe he is. Sir Chris, I am really sorry. But I also know Sir Chris does not mind, because Sir Chris has come out and said that he doesn't mind. He just wants people to consume his art. I'm sorry, but my very first watching of Interstellar was on a plane.
Sacrilege.
So I
can cut it out if you want.
No, I've admitted this many times.
Oh, it's all out there, all over the.
It's all out
there.
The
podcasting
it's all out
world.
There. Yeah, it is public information. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it was very long after. In fact, it was probably early 2015, because I remember I flew to the US in May 2015,
right.
Or was it end of April? Whatever, beginning of May, end of April, doesn't matter. 2015. So within the year. And it was showing, and that it must have been that flight, because, that's where you get the full entertainment service. So I would have watched it on that flight. Yeah. Again, not the best experience. And so I had this really low on my Nolan, because you just miss so much of the dialogue, obviously, not as
and
much
the sound
like Lieutenant, and the sound design, everything
so prominent
that is so intrinsic to this being the achievement that it is. And I'm just being perfectly honest that I do think it is an incredible achievement. It doesn't work on a plane so well.
No.
The score's not really working as well. The visuals are working, but not as they should be, because you're seeing it in your mini little screen and not on a massive, great big, IMAX or whatever you might have nearby you. Anyway, okay, fine. And I didn't revisit it for a long time. It's like Interstellar, and everybody's like, hype. Anyway, cut to a couple of years ago. It's got its 10-year anniversary. It's showing in the biggest screen in town. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch Interstellar again. I'm just going to give it another chance, right? Okay. So we did 180 in that with this one, because that makes all the difference. And I think it's just this common thing with me. It's like, if I've seen a film in the cinema, I'm generally going to be more positive about it than because you just get immersed, and you're there, and you're living the moment, and you're appreciating all the crafts that go into it. So generally, and it's the same last year when I was doing all the Oscar watching, I'm like, most of the things that I didn't see in cinema and just watched on some other means that I managed to get hold of, they didn't work so well for me. And people were low in Frankenstein and thought this is shit. And I'm like, I think Frankenstein was great, but I saw it in the cinema. So I hold the whole thing. And people who just seem to have watched it, while doing a million other things and had it on Netflix, just didn't seem to appreciate it as much.
It's on the top of our list at the moment. So yeah. Parker from Dissect That Film absolutely adored it. It was his favourite film of last year. So
well, there we go. I thought it was great. I think I had it at 5 or something of the 10 nominated for Best Picture. Definitely liked it more than Hamlet. So, but yeah. So anyway, definitely did 118 Interstellar, seeing it the proper way, as absolutely. Sir Chris intended. Oh.
So what happens in Interstellar? As I always do, I go to IMDb, and it states, in a dystopian future where Earth has become near uninhabitable, a team of astronauts embark on a mission to find a new home for humanity. As simple as it gets for IMDb, as always. That's pretty much the gist.
Yeah.
So getting straight into it then, like a lot of Chris Nolan films that they offer a lot of rewatch value because of sort of the time jumping back and forth that he loves to do, as we've literally just talked about with The Prestige, is certainly a prominent one of his work. But here I loved the opening, where we have kind of this, what seems to be at face value, like a documentary style film, like a Talking Heads opening about the state of the planet, that they couldn't plant any more food other than corn, etc. And there's dust everywhere. But watching it again, you're like, for the second time, third, fourth, for me, I guess, you're like, oh my God, that's Murphy as an old lady now, talking on the big, cylinder ship, and not like a documentary style. It's not a documentary style at all in the end. It's sort of footage in sort of this memorial screen in a museum. So it's just a really quite fascinating opening that he's going to such a unfamiliar style for Chris Nolan. It's like, what? Am I watching a documentary? What's going on? It's such a almost sort of a shock opening in that sense from a narrative point of view.
Yep, agree. I'd also another of these films I just forget how it starts. As I was saying about The Prestige.
But again, you have that element of like nothing is left, nothing is unimportant. You think, it's just kind of sort of this device to set the atmosphere, but no, you see it later.
Yeah, but it's like the only time jump that you have really in this film because everything else is pretty much chronological. You do have the jumps between space and what's going on with McConaughey and his crew and what's going on Earth with Murphy and everybody else. But that's the jumping that it does as opposed to time. So this is kind of this framing device with the what seems like a documentary. And then, of course, at the very end, you have old Murph again.
But I guess certainly Interstellar is sort of the start. I would not necessarily. I guess it started with Inception, this idea of him playing with how he perceived time. It started with Inception, then it goes kind of a bit further with Interstellar, like people experiencing time a lot faster than others.
Yeah, that's his time thing. Time,
exactly. You have it with, obviously, more with Tenet. Gets crazy complicated with that, with time.
Yeah. Like, calm down, Chris.
With Dunkirk as well. So, but here it definitely feels very unique. The fact that people are experiencing time in a very different way that you've never really seen addressed properly before in a film like this, certainly in science fiction. So,
and how when you do kind of
go through like a wormhole and space travelers relationship back to Earth, I don't think that I can think of a film that really explores that to the nth degree that this film does. So.
And not just explores, but tries to explain it. And that's the whole thing. It's like, I think if you were watching something else, or maybe from another a director or just somebody who took a different kind of perspective on it. I mean, maybe even a Spielberg, I don't know. But I think it's a very different film because I think Nolan with this, he had he wanted it to seem realistic. So he's like, got a scientific advisor saying, how can we explain this? Because this is what I want to happen. And the only thing I think that they really had major issues with was explaining off the 7 years to the 1 hour.
Yes.
That was where it got a little bit.
The time slippage stuff.
Yes. Time dilation or whatever they called it. Yes, it was okay. But so I kind of respect that because I think while I have issues with it, but we'll come to that, I'm sure. But I think where other filmmakers might just be, right, we're going full sci-fi and we don't have to explain it. It just is. And that also can work. It's like, it just is. You never question in some science fiction, it was like, why is this happening? It just is because it's science fiction. So we're just, we're suspending our disbelief here and we are just saying, well, that's the way it is.
Like,
whereas
for example,
this one, he's trying to base it in realism.
Yeah, like, for example, Event Horizon, which this film directly refers to with how Romley explains how, like, the wormhole works. That's a little bit ripped off from Event Horizon when... I can't remember his name now.
Sam Neill?
Sam Neill, there you go. Sam Neill explains basically the same thing in the same way with the paper and the pen. But yeah, it doesn't really explore... the time aspects. It's just
that film that nobody saw.
Crazy ship. But there we go.
That film, oh my god, that gave me panic attack. Seriously, afterwards when I saw it at cinemas, and I also had complete panic attack. Like,
do you see the
eyes? Oh my god! So I can't deal with eye horror anyway, and this is about as extreme as it gets. So this was an extreme situation. Anyway. Complete tangent, but Event Horizon. Yes.
But I think it explains kind of, for me, like your point you're making, that with Event Horizon it's dealing with wormholes, but it's just kind of like a portal, and that's it. There's no like relation to Earth really. I haven't seen it in a while, but this really is the basis of this film. But
the difference there as well, as also kind of like saying, is the fact that Event Horizon has also got the supernatural to it. So it's like this is not even trying.
The wormhole is the gateway to hell.
Yes, exactly.
Spoilers.
Well, where are we going? We don't need eyes. Whatever. Anyway,
what's also
moving on.
Yeah. What's also really interesting about this film is kind of that it's set in a political climate where they think the moon landings were faked.
Yes.
Because the point that humanity's pioneering desires to explore the unknown is kind of dying. Like, this attitude feels like it's kind of infiltrating the mind of Dr. Brandt with his lie, like Michael Caine's character when he reveals the lie to adult Murph, Jessica Chastain's character. You know, that Dr. Brandt has solved the gravity equation even before the Lazarus missions take off. That the old way was to kind of commit to plan B to start a colony, and plan A can only possibly work with the data from a black hole. That's the only way plan A can work to save the humanity that's already on Earth, which becomes kind of the driving force for the rest of the film and exploring like the kind of the bigger science fiction elements of the film. But I love how you don't expect how this kind of lie kind of plays out as well in the storytelling to sort of drive the rest of the story. And I love how you get the message from Murph in sort of two parts. Like, at first we have kind of the audience only learn about the lie as the crew have left already for Dr. Mann's planet. So it kind of allows Nolan to kind of build a little bit of a suspense there, and how and when will they find out? And as Dr. Mann already kind of knows about it too. So I guess my only disappointment with kind of that whole kind of situation with the lie is that Cooper gives up on plan A too easily, like a bit too soon. And it's kind of, he's resigned to the fact that he has to go back home. And it's only Bromley saying, hey, actually, there might be a chance that like a probe might survive a black hole, which Cooper never kind of broke his commitment to plan A, other than that the lie reveal was like really well done. So other than that, yeah. So it's a really kind of interesting political setting that the film is going with here, that like Cooper is he feels very alone in this world of explorers and pioneers, and the lie kind of hits harder with the fact that, oh shit, Dr. Brad Michael Caine is kind of sort of in that sort of line of thinking as well. But it's just a bit frustrating as well. What I'm trying to say is that Cooper kind of gives up on plan A too quickly for me. I feel like his character was strong enough to really fight that. He has such a fighting spirit through figuring out problems through logic and stuff and physics and time.
But does he really fully give up? Because the thing is that they haven't. The point is they wasted time going to these planets that was a waste of time. So plan A can now not happen. So although plan A was never really the plan, as we find out, they now it's not a case of necessarily of him giving up. They literally can't, because they don't have enough fuel, or they have to decide who's going where. And then Anne Hathaway does go off to the other planet because they've got enough to get her there. But I mean, what a crappy life she's going to have there waiting for everybody else. God, that final scene with her, and you're just like, oh, this looks a bit shit. But then, of course, she goes for her little hibernation. So it's nice. Yeah. And she'll wake up and she'll still look exactly the same. It's great. I love it. We need this. So I don't know if he does. I don't think he has given up necessarily on plan A. He's just realized that he because he does.
I think it's
send
just
her off.
I think
he's also like so shocked as well that there was they've been betrayed in a way, which is why, I mean, we're getting already to the question that I brought up in the Prestige bit, is like, Michael Caine in this film, is he in a way the villain? Which is really bizarre for Michael Caine in a Christopher Nolan film. But I think this is the closest we've ever got to seeing him being the villain, even though it's not necessarily from a position of, I mean, he does want to save the species, but he's sacrificing, again, back to another theme from the Prestige, but he's sacrificing so much along the way and lying and betraying his daughter that she clearly does not know. I mean, I believe that she did not know, because she does get asked directly by Jessica Chastain in the video, but also, I think, does Cooper also ask her? Can't remember. But yeah, it's. I mean, I also understand like where he's coming from, but that is a crazy decision to make. I mean, so
he's definitely
maybe not villain, antagonist, maybe, but also is he really? Because at the end of the day, he is trying to save the species.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like
but sacrificing family.
He's come to a point that this is my only option, I guess. Yeah, he's come to a point that this is his only option to get people to maybe believe in NASA again, and to believe in Plan A. It's sort of he's trying to like buy himself time a little bit as well. And I kind of love the line that he says to Murphy, by the time you come home, no, Cooper, definitely. I love the line that he says, by the time you come home, I would have solved the problem of gravity. I give you my word. And I love that line from Michael Caine because you can kind of tell a little bit that he's lying from his performance, that he doesn't say it with enough conviction. Like his eyes look so sad in that moment. Then kind of the raw guilt on his face is kind of amazing on his deathbed. Plus, I kind of love how you get sort of the opposite emotion of the pure joy of seeing Ellen Bernstein's Murphy on her deathbed. Maybe not quite deathbed, but you know what I mean? Which kind of makes
she's
that
close.
scene... Yeah. Which kind of makes 90. That scene stand out even more for me.
She's just so good, though.
Yeah, you can't help but contrast those two performances. Plus, I love kind of the Dylan Thomas poem as well from Michael Caine, Do Not Go Gentle into that good night. You know,
well, it makes comes about 3 times.
Yeah, makes their journey feel very epic, and the lie kind of cut even deeper, even further in a way as well.
Yeah, I mean, but he does say why he did it, because he says, well, I would never, because ultimately humans are selfish. And if they think that they're not going to do it otherwise. I mean, and this is so true. Like, so much of this is like absolutely right. If you, a similar thing in The Dark Knight as well, where they have to choose between the 2 boats, and like, what would you do? Who would you save? Yes, social experiment. It's the same here. Or there was something recently on Twitter about, would you press the red button, or depending on if enough people press the red button, then everybody's going to be saved. Something like that. There was some social experiment on Twitter as well. But it's the same thing. I mean, ultimately, human beings are selfish creatures, and they are looking out for number one, which is themselves, and family, friends, perhaps as well. But if you know that you're sacrificing yourself for the good of humanity, and you're going to save everybody else, but you are going to die, or you're leaving a certain generation there to die, including your family that you've left behind, who's going to do that? Seriously, that's a question. So that's why somebody like, the ones that have less, I mean, you never find out about everybody else's family. And I think that's for a reason, because they probably don't. But on the other hand, they also think they're coming back. So, and the only one who knows what's going on is the best of us, Dr. Mann, and
is kind of the real antagonist of the film.
Right, but again,
in a more
I mean, yes, but I also have to. This is why antagonist is the absolute right word, because there's a big difference between antagonist and villain. I always it's the same, or Whiplash or something. J.K. Simmons, I don't think he's not a villain. No. So antagonist is. I can understand where he's coming from, like Dr. Mann. Absolutely. He wants those people to come to him because he wants to go home. Or was it, I read the other day, like, Hollywood has spent so many $1 billion on trying to get Matt Damon home. Yeah. Maybe he just wants to be kept lost. Yeah. So we've got Odyssey, Martian, this.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, the first one, the OG. Speaking of people, people like sacrificing themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just fed up of being cold and miserable and alone.
Growing potatoes. He's got potatoes.
Reason.
With in his boat in the Odyssey with all the gods. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I do understand where he's coming from. Like ultimately, and that's the thing. That's what makes it interesting to talk about. And what you were also saying about science and skepticism towards science. We see this all the time. Good God, you've got the anti-vax crowd, or you've got just people not trusting in science, or you still got the flat earthers, and you've got the people who actually do believe this about the moon landings and all of this, and where I'm like, these people are crazy. But then you've also got something which I can potentially more buy into, where you're saying, well, should we be spending all this money on space exploration when people are starving? And quite frankly, I'm sitting there going, well, that is actually a good point. And part of me is kind of like, well, or defense budgets or all this kind of thing. When you say, do we really need to be pumping this much money into the military? Do we need to be punching this much money into this and this and this? When really there's people in countries everywhere starving. And I kind of get that side of it. I can get. I mean, I'm not denying science, of course not. And I think scientific exploration is super important. But if you're having to choose, I kind of also understand what they're saying.
Yeah, I think certainly politically, I know they don't really hit on it too hard in this film, but it's a really just interesting way they kind of set up this film in terms of, you know, the world feeling, all the kind of the other side characters like John Lithgow, Casey Affleck.
Love him.
You know, the sense of despair and impending doom is very prevalent in those performances for sure, and in there and how those characters are written. Yeah,
like you said, the impending doom and just not fighting anymore.
Yeah,
like Casey Affleck, like he's lost a child. His wife has got some terrible cough. His second kid, surviving kid, has got an awful cough, but yet he just refuses to leave. Like, what is going on? Or the doctor comes, Topher Grace, yay, jump scare. It's like, wow. Oh, he exists. He's not just been in the 70s show. And he's coming, he's investigating the kids, or they have to secretly do things while, what's his name? Tom, right? Tom is his character. While he's out, because I think his wife, Lois, is a little bit more open, at least because she's the one with the cough, right? And presumably wants to try and save her second child as well. But Tom is also like, there's no point. I don't think it's like he doesn't
he's
want
very,
to. He's just like, he's kind of like,
he's
this
very
is what
resigned
my life
to his
is.
fate.
Yes,
that's he's very resigned to his way of life. You know, he's always done this. He's always been a farmer.
Which he was when he was like Timothy Chalamet as well.
So it's just like he hasn't developed any of his skills that can help humanity, really, other than the most important one for the people.
But it's just like
the people that are making the decisions in this world. You know, we need farmers. He's going to be a farmer.
Yeah, but there's nothing left to farm. That's the whole point.
That's
like there's nothing left. I mean, the okra's gone. What did we learn? And all these like or okra's going this year or whatever. Like there's all these various like ones that have died out, and it just and it's just. But I mean, there's people like that. There are so many people like that.
They don't want their world, whatever it is, they don't want their world disrupted. You know, they don't want Topher Grace coming in. They just want their way. They want to do things their way, and that's it. There's no kind of listening in that sort of sense
they've
when
got their head in the sand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there's another way of putting it, I guess, isn't it? So,
but they just won't accept it, and it's like, your wife is coughing up a lung here. Like, you know, there's something wrong maybe. But no, he's like, no. Like, go away. I don't know whether it's like scared or something. And then what does he say to like Mark, we want to go and live in your bunker or something like that? Like, well, it's possibly better than living out here with these dust clouds. So it's just so real. I read, by the way, just to kind of set the setting, I think I read like today that, so we have to imagine John Lithgow, his character is kind of like the millennial generation, is what I read. So today. So
right. Okay.
You, basically. So not me. Well, cusp. But yeah, so he's that age. So if we think about that, I don't know that, but that kind of maybe does pan out because
I just want dust to be tidied up properly and stop praying to it. You know?
Yes, there you go. See? Yeah, but that does kind of make sense. So it's like not too far in the future, the whole everything, so that anything that does kind of date things in a way, like, you know, they're talking about the moon landings, that's stuff that people are saying today. Like there are people who believe it, and we see in like the US with, you know, they're trying to, I think some things are being taken off the syllabus and it's insane in certain states, and so we're seeing that. So it's something that we are aware of, and here it's just being taken further as it would have done, like however John Lithgow is in this film, I guess like 60s or something like that. Yeah. So we're talking on average for a millennial, like 13 years later or something. I mean, it's realistic, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of following a sort of political trajectory 30 years later, with the fact that you've got in an economic sense as well, with the military, you know, using their drone robots, TARS case, who are fantastic, by the way.
I love them.
With those characters, you know, helping NASA. NASA is just like a secret organization now, it seems. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a really interesting kind of political world that this film is set.
Yeah, they're banning the books about the moon landings, all this kind of thing. I mean,
in terms of its ambition of
continue,
what's possible with sci-fi, and obviously with even just in terms of like the technology that they use, with the spaceships, it doesn't feel that far off from what we're already using now, or at least when NASA was very prominent like 20 years ago. So
and also I read that this black hole sort of theory or idea that they had, they actually then started investigating that after this film. Because I mean, we all know that that Chris Nolan worked very closely with Kip Thorne on this film to make sure it had some groundings in what could potentially be. And I know that Kip has kind of said, well, this is totally in the realms of possibility. This is actually real. This is real. This is in the realms of possibility. And I think there's a couple of things where he was like, well, maybe not. just we're going with it. We're just going with it. It's maybe we're not going to have somebody floating around in the library behind the bookshelf. Who knows? So maybe not. But but the fact is, they've got so much actual real science in there that you could read up that then you kind of then go along with the rest of it. Potentially, unless you don't, which I know some people don't. So, but I do like that, but I do think it can potentially also backfire because, and I know this is what people have criticized a lot of it. It's like because so much of it is grounded in actual real science and what is possible and what is in the realms of possibility and what actually is real, because there's so much, and he made such a big deal about working with Kip Thorne, etc., etc., etc. The point where then it does get, this is actually not real, this could not happen, come on, like case, people are like, well, hang on, the rest of the film was, so what are you doing now? This is just stupid. Because then they're so immersed in what is real that then this just goes too far, and then they're criticizing because they're saying everything else was based in real science. But now you're asking us to take that leap, and that's the question. Do you take that leap with them or do you not?
So it's definitely an interesting point. Yeah.
And that,
I think there's a lot of like comparisons to like 2001, which I'll certainly get into. But I really like sort of Cooper and Murphy's relationship. I find it's quite interesting to me, as Cooper is not like a great parent before he kind of leaves Murphy for the mission. Like he's trying, to talk to her about like the science of the mission, which he thinks might sound cool to her, but backfires massively, saying that he could be the same age when he comes back, basically saying that he has no idea when he's coming back. That feeling of guilt about his slip up, he makes like a promise he can't keep, the thing that he was trying not to do and trying to avoid. I do like how that little scene was kind of written as well. Plus their emotional connection kind of continues during the audio of the countdown of the rocket launch as Cooper drives away, and Nolan doesn't draw that much attention to the rocket launch visually either. Like the focus is on the emotions between these characters, and the score by Hans Zimmer as well.
That shot is so good with the car, where you see the side of the car and the back wheels, but you see the house behind it, and he's just driving on. So good.
So it's such great efficiency with the storytelling. Plus, it gets you kind of excited that Nolan is holding a lot up his sleeve visually too, as he doesn't feel the need to really show off a practical like rocket launch from every angle or whatever. You only really get like a few shots and that's it. So I love that kind of sort of visual confidence that Nolan has.
I think as well. I think the relationship. The film, it's got its scientific side, it's got its emotional side. It is probably the most emotional, least cold film, strangely enough, of Nolan. It's never going to work if you don't buy into that relationship between Cooper and Murph. It's just not going to. That is central to the whole thing. Like if that's not working in that relationship or that connection, even though, she is, Tom's coming out and hugging his dad and saying, bye, okay. But she is, because they're closer, she is hurt more. She is hurt more. That's why she's angry. That's why she's striking out. That's why she's pushing him away, doesn't want to say goodbye properly, because they are so close. And because ultimately they are like a reflection of each other. Like she's the one that goes with him to explore the science. She's the one that's, reading up on the space landings and all this kind of thing. So
she's playing her part as well in trying to figure out this black hole problem.
Yeah. She's the one that saves the world.
Yeah, evidently, and you just kind of have this great like visual intrigue in terms of McConaughey's character stays as Matthew McConaughey, whereas you have 3 different actors playing Murphy. It's just a great kind of visual thing and you still have that great connection for the film between these 2 characters with, the video messages is kind of a great device for this film as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the switch. Oh yeah, the video messages is also like very much the heart of the film as well. Like,
very much memed to death with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh yeah. But I think this is also going to he hadn't seen the video footage, so that was like a first reaction.
Yeah, of course.
To them.
I feel like that's the only way you can get that reaction. Probably. As well.
Yeah, you have to be in the character, have to understand the background, of course, and then they have to play, and then you're going to get that reaction because it's just. I mean, I think I think he's got like quite a number of children, and I presume he'd already had like
I think
a couple by that time.
He's a big family man, I think.
Yeah. So he can absolutely relate to that, and then the switch as well, which I think is what first sets him off, isn't it? Is like when the switch from Chalamet to Affleck as well.
Oh, Casey Affleck, yeah.
Great casting. I didn't quite like see it, but then I rewatched Ocean's 11, and there's the bit with Casey Affleck, with the first scene with him where he's like driving his little racing cars, like little ones, electric cars, and he's actually the spitting image of Chalamet. Like he's got the little skinny little boy like look to him. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. That's actually perfect casting.
Apparently, Timothée Chalamet forgot he was in Interstellar. I read during the Oscar run. I was like,
he also, when he first saw Interstellar, he cried because he thought he had a bigger role, and then he just got this tiny little role. And I mean, come on, whatever. I think he's doing fine.
One aspect I always get excited about Nolan films, and it's not like the timey-wimey stuff, it's not kind of how the stories kind of jump back and forth. It's the huge scale that Nolan is going for now, certainly in his career now, since sort of The Dark Knight, I guess. And I just love the scale of the space shots here. It's quite stunning at times. When the Endurance is kind of just like flying past Saturn, like the planet completely fills the frame in IMAX while you just see this kind of white flashing dot float past, plus other brilliant shots where it's like
the wormhole scene. When they go through.
There's other brilliant shots where kind of the Endurance is just floating in space at a fair distance, and we cut back to the truck coming back to the kind of the farmhouse at a similar size scale in the frame. Fairly similar to, the famous 2001 cut, of course, but in more of a subtle way here. But it's there. You can see it. There's kind of another, like, 2001 reference just before, like, they're just about to go on through the wormhole, as you say, and you have kind of this longitude line, where at one side of space is kind of going faster than the other. And in kind of 2001, there's like a similar thing where Dave travels through space with kind of this longitude line and with those kind of amazing red and green effects. So that was quite cool to see. But the actual wormhole journey felt very otherworldly, even though, as we said, there's so much kind of scientific theory done here to inform what it could actually look like. That warped gravity moment with Brandt is always freaky to watch to me. Mm-hmm. and just this kind of high speed density of space was just kind of incredible to experience, and kind of the for the first time, and the way kind of the stars slowly expand back to normal felt very satisfying to watch.
That is, I mean, that is probably, I mean, there's obviously the other scene with the docking scene, which is the famous one. I think if you're comparing my two experiences, I mean, I have watched the film since, of course, but like, let's just take the one in the plane and the one in the big cinema. That I think is the biggest difference. I mean, not even the docking scene, because that is still kind of impressive, like on a smaller screen, I have to say. But the complete immersion of going through the wormhole, and you almost like, it's almost like 4D in a way. Like, I mean, I almost feel like I'm like shaking and experiencing it with them. That was pretty incredible. And in the cinema.
The one
Although
scene...
it's also like kind of weird on a plane to watch, quite frankly, because you're actually on a plane as well. So you're like,
I can imagine you watching the shots of Saturn filling the frame and just like,
what's
happening? I don't understand what's happening.
Am I watching a film? Am I watching a film, or I've got maps on? Yeah.
I loved the whole kind of Miller's Planet sequence, and I loved kind of the use of fixed cameras on the Ranger. It brings that amazing kind of visual intensity and realism as you can feel kind of the ship shaking all the time. Like the sound design with that is great too. With some films, kind of the fixed cameras on vehicles can feel a little bit unnecessary. Like here, it really works. And it's got very little like VFX shots with like the wide shots, very few wide shots. Again, like the scale of the scene feels huge, especially with that kind of amazing tilt up shot of seeing that wave coming towards them. It feels like that shot just doesn't end. The intensity of the scene is all there, especially with kind of the actors playing their part in it too. However, there was a problem with kind of the rhythm of it, and it all kind of plays out, especially kind of with the knowledge that the longer they stay down on Miller's Planet, the more time passes on Earth, etc. And I feel like Doyle could have survived. He was presented to be standing around too much for me. And I watched it again, and I was like, "What are you doing, man? Get on the ship." Apart from that, I really
it's not like
liked
he's trying
this.
to save anybody, really, isn't he? I mean, Anne Hathaway is the one that goes wading off to try and get the data. Yeah. And he's just like, oops.
Yeah. Apart from that, I kind of liked this kind of triple time whammy, if you will, where they've lost more time than they kind of realize after the wave passes.
3 years. Well, they realize when they go back to ship and they see the blooming Romilly with his grey beard. Like, oh, shit.
Like the acting between McConaughey and Anne Hathaway is fantastic. Then you have kind of, as you say, the shock of getting back on the Endurance, and they find out that Romilly has been waiting for them for 23 years because of this kind of time slippage. Then you have the surprise of not only finding out that Cooper's daughter is the same age as him, but you have kind of that amazing cut back to Earth when Murphy turns the monitor off. I love that cut so much.
Ah, that's so good. Yeah.
After all that, you're like, oh dear, Dial dies. Oh well. But after quite a kind of a deliberate pace of this film, the time craziness goes into full gear while it's keeping it emotionally heightened too. So a fantastic sequence in the end. It's just a shame that the editing just wasn't quite on point with Doyle's character. He's just shown to be standing around too much. Other than that, it's a great stretch of the film for me.
I think there's a lot about that where it's just, I wasn't even paying much attention to the acting in that, McConaughey and Hathaway, because I was just like so immersed in Hans Zimmer's score, like for that planet, with the deliberate tick tock to mirror how much the time is passing and how fast it's actually passing, and then when the organs come in, and then it just like gradually builds up. It's just the score in this is.
Oh, it's tremendous. And I think it's definitely one reason why I think so many people adore this film is because of the score. They get sucked into the score.
So recognizable as well. Yeah.
With kind of this metronome aspect to it and the organs, etc.
And also just generally the sound as well. So it's not only the organs, of course, like the score, but then, I mean, we saw it in Oppenheimer, of course, as well, but the use of silence when you would expect there to be a lot of noise. Obviously Oppenheimer with the Trinity test, but here with, a number of examples where it just goes silent and sound is gone. But one that really hit me this last watch was was Man, like when he crashes into the. Does he crash into the Endeavour? Whatever he crashes in, he crashes.
The airlock explodes.
The airlock bit, and that's just like cuts to silent. And you sit up and pay attention because you think it's something wrong. Like, why is the sound gone? But it's just such good sound work.
Because like you hear like every movement in the suit, and like, because I would feel like a lot of other directors would maybe tone that down a little bit in the mix, but it's very prominent in the mix, the sound mix.
I like big noises so you can't hear things.
Dialogue.
Don't worry, deliberate.
Yeah, and even just all the ship rattling, even when if it's just floating, sometimes you can just kind of feel and hear the rattle of the ship.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
And so I like quite sensitive ears, and I find there's a lot of films that I really have issues with certain things that they're depicting the sound, because the sound just it's like nails on a blackboard for me. And it's particularly people eating or cutlery. It just really bothers me. I'm like, it wouldn't be this loud. Why are we making it this loud? But this doesn't bother me because it's just completely different sounds. It is very immersive but it still works. It's loud. It's deliberately loud, but it's a different kind of, it's not like little jarring, annoying little sounds like, I don't know, tap dripping, which also drives me mad, stuff like that. I mean, what is it called? It's misophonia. I suffer from misophonia. So little sounds like that really bother me.
So do you always skip the part in Jaws where Robert Shaw scrapes his nails down the blackboard?
That's not so bad, but I do try and avoid eating, like if they're like eating or opening cans or whatever, anything like that. Okay. So you can imagine when I watched The Substance and the prawn scene, that was just like, no. Stop it. Or just squelching is really bad. So but this is not so much of a problem. This is great. This is fine because I think it's because it's constant and it's not irritating, and you can still hear what they're saying. Tenet.
I find Brandt's character, Anne Hathaway's character, a fascinating one because of her kind of sort of very elevated view on the concept of love in this story and kind of the situation they're in. There's a point in the film where they kind of have to choose between Dr. Mann's planet and Edmund's planet, and it's kind of revealed that Brandt is in love with Edmund. And she says that she doesn't know why she's still drawn to a person that she hasn't seen in a decade and whom is probably dead. She describes love like something that that they don't fully understand yet, which I think is, a fair opinion. And I think it's really interesting that this idea is put through kind of a science fiction story lens of putting that question out there. And why is love so important to us as a species? Do they, try and, they do try and tie things up at the end with Cooper inside the infinity space-time dimension thingy that, that
thingy, very scientific thingy.
That love is the thing that binds this space together. So you get that sort of answer, but still feels very broad for me. But I think it's more of an interesting character note for Brandt's character in the end. But the other kind of really interesting thing is, on the other hand, it kind of relates to kind of Dr. Mann's character as well, too, in a weird way, with his kind of reveal that he faked the data of his planet as a ploy to get rescued. His own selfish love to get home is another kind of dark angle that kind of love transcends time and space in that way as well. So it's kind of interesting as well that, that he tries to justify it as it's just a kind of a survival instinct. No, you're just a coward. So I kind of love how this idea does feel kind of rounded somewhat. So I love the ambition of it. Yes. I don't think it fully works.
And this is my major issue with the whole thing. Okay. I mean, we're going to have to deal with the topic of exposition in general. This film, it needs it though. I mean, it bothers me more in this film than it does in Inception. Inception is also full of exposition because you need to explain it. You just have to. But on the other hand, to me in Inception, it makes more sense. Like just generally, because you do have Elliot Page's character who is going to be the architect, but I will say they in this case because the character is female, but Elliot Page obviously, which is that, so I'll just say they are learning about what their job is going to be in this scheme of cops. So the exposition does make sense. Here you have got scientists explaining to each other what a black hole is. Please. And I know it's for the audience, but it's a little bit much. It's like, trust us a little bit more, Chris. Like, we could potentially be trusted with a little bit more. But I don't know. I think part of it,
I think it's for criticized kind of for Matthew McConaughey. It's kind of more directed for him. But McConaughey is certainly our vehicle for the audience.
Yes. And that's why I have issues as well with the whole love, this monologue thing that Anne Hathaway goes on. It's like, I understand why this has to be delivered. I understand why she is the person to deliver it, because she is that person who is caught between, looking at the data that says man's data is the place to go, but also kind of wanting to maybe try and make a case to go to Edmund's planet because she's in love with it. So, I get it. And so I understand why she has to talk about it. It's just so out of nowhere suddenly that she's talking about, love transcends space and time.
It's maybe not like written the best.
No.
But I admire...
He's trying.
But I really
well done, Chris.
I really do admire the ambition of where he's trying to go here with this kind of idea.
You're sounding like me trying to explain Tenet's sound problems.
But yeah, I think it's just this whole thing of just trying to explore an idea that we're at a kind of time in our scientific discovery that we don't fully understand it yet. And I think Nolan is trying to just kind of speculate what is still to be discovered, even though we already think we know what it is, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I'm clearly more cynical than you, so it is what it is, right? And I know this is also people's issues with Interstellar, that they do say it's a little bit much on the emotional side. Let's stick to the science. But on the other hand, you've got people who say that Christopher Nolan is way too cold, and therefore something like Interstellar is, we've still got our dead wives and we've still got, but at least we're trying, and we're trying to give some kind of emotional core to this film, which he absolutely is, because to go back to it, yes, the science it's about the science, but actually it's not. It's actually, as we said before, it's about the connection between Murphy and Cooper, and if that's not there and that doesn't work, the whole thing, because that's how he gets back, that's how he finds her, this whole love connection and etc. etc. I mean, I'm sorry, but it also kind of reminded me of Harry Potter. I'm really sorry. Because what saved me? It wasn't some great magic, it was love. Yeah, it was like, exactly, what's the Horcrux? It's Dr. Man. Obviously it's different, because in Harry Potter, it was like love was what protected Harry. But I'm like, really? Yeah. You've got a whole book series about magic and dark magic and all this kind of thing, and you want to tell me that it's love that's protected, like, little Harry?
Old magic.
Oh,
Old
come
magic,
on.
Heather.
I'm like, that. I don't want that. And so, I don't know. I think it's just me. I think that I'm the problem. But that was, I don't know, I just sat there rolling my eyes a little bit about the speech.
No, but I do totally understand. And I think
I will face, what is it? Sorry. Oh no, it's in Dracula. Sorry. I have crossed many oceans of time to find you, which I actually think is actually quite romantic. I like that, because that's dark and gothic and kind of sick. Yeah. But
and now I'll bite you.
Yeah, now I'll bite you. Exactly. Yes.
But I think another one of the biggest problem I have with this film sort of relates to this, how they're exploring this idea of love as well, in a way, and I'll come to it. But the sort of the last scenes I really loved as well, where kind of Cooper ends up in this kind of tesseract, as they describe it. It kind of does feel like Christopher Nolan's trying to do Stanley Kubrick's 2001 moment of kind of pure science fiction in more of a kind of a narrative sense. And I think Nolan just about gets away with it, for me, with making the scene narratively make sense, with how he's able to kind of manipulate gravity like he's pulling strings on a harp. There's an attempt to make, love seem like the key to the whole thing, which is very kind of difficult to get my head around. Yeah. Even still, but at its core is the reveal that humanity has kind of created this tesseract, and it's not kind of they or them, the aliens, for Cooper from a far distant future where Nolan purposely kind of writes it, I think. So it becomes very difficult to understand, to get that sense that we don't understand the science of it yet. Like, the science is far beyond our time.
This is the thing. Exactly. It's what I was saying about science. It's like, well, if you've gone that far, will you go that extra step into the part that Kip Thorne says, actually?
So this is sort of
the thing.
The 2001 territory that Nolan is going for here. Like, the science is far beyond our time. We have kind of to let our time kind of catch up to kind of understand it, while keeping this kind of humanity, our explorers and pioneers, still in a far distant future theme. So I love how kind of the design and concept of this Tesseract goes far beyond what we think science fiction technology is.
Yeah, and he has that in Tenet as well, because ultimately, you know, the protagonist and Neil have known each other for years, but at the time when they have that final scene with each other, the protagonist doesn't know that. Neil knows this, but the protagonist doesn't, because they're like working in different time not time zones, but you know, time whatever journeys we'll call it. I don't know,
collisions.
Yeah. So he's
but do you understand what I'm trying to kind of say? That because he's spoken a lot about kind of 2001 in the press leading up to this film upon its release, and it very much feels like his version of speculative science fiction here.
So you saying like the sort of the final part of
this film,
2001? No, but also the final part of 2001 when he's in the that
kind of white room and you have the space baby. It's certainly more.
Yeah, and that's where also 2001 lost me as well, because I'm like, I want to go back to the nasty little robot. He was my favorite. Go back.
How?
I mean, top tier robots. I mean, I have to say, like TARS, HAL 9000. I mean, you know, pretty good robots. Case, great.
Case, very dry humor.
Yeah. What's your humor levels?
I love that.
Yeah. What's your humor levels?
That you could adjust.
Turn it down.
I love that aspect of the writing.
What's your honesty? Maybe not so much honesty.
This is also kind of one of Christopher Nolan's funniest films.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's definitely.
And it's all from the robots, which I love.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, it's the same in 2001, though, isn't it? Like, I regularly, now that I know that it's from that film, this conversation can serve no more purpose. Goodbye. I need to start using this on work calls. It's amazing clues. Yes. No. I just go through stages with this film. Part of me is like, sometimes I'm completely bought in to this whole love thing, and then sometimes my cynical side comes out, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah. It's definitely the science fiction ambition that I admire here. But the one thing that bothers me the most about this film is poor Jessica Chastain has to do a lot of heavy lifting with very little narrative with her storyline back on Earth. Like, she's trying to work kind of backwards and figure out through kind of her memory about what's happening with the gravity when she was a child, etc. But for me, there's just not enough here narratively for Murphy to kind of work out that the ghost was her dad in Cooper, and there's practically nothing to say here that it was the watch. To say yes,
she figures it out too quickly for me.
Yeah, it's too
in
quick.
My opinion. Yeah,
and it feels too convenient for me. You know, Jessica Chastain's story back on Earth just doesn't hold enough narrative weight, especially towards the end of the film for me. I mean, there's some great like cross-cutting with some of the scenes, you know, with kind of the human obstacles that they both go through on Earth and, you know, on with Dr. Mann in space. But I kind of had this problem as well with Project Hail Mary. Like, every time we kind of come away from space, I'm just like, can we just go back to space, please?
Oh, same.
It's just not interesting enough. I don't think it's as bad here, but it's just those final moments with the watch. It's just, there's not enough narrative there.
It is weird, isn't it? Because we've been saying, there's so much like scientific exposition, like all the way through. But yet here they choose to like fast forward so they can get to the emotional ending. It's like, and then they have the score and we're building up and we're floating through the library, and then we're getting the dust, and when we're saying, stay, it spells stay, Dad. And he's shouting, don't let me go. Don't let him go, Murph. Don't let him go. And it's like so fast, and it's really picking up speed. And the Jessica Chastain with the watch thing just get folded into that, and I'm like, well, you know, that's I kind of get it, but also it seemed that I'm sure she's a genius, Murph. Clearly, that's how she is portrayed. But she really does cotton on very quickly. And I know it's narrative, but we've spent a lot of time explaining other things. So
because like the only thing we have is that Cooper gave her a watch, and that they kind of synced up their watches.
Yes,
I just feel like that's not enough for me.
He puts the Morse code through to, or the binary code, or whichever one it was. I don't know. I think it was. Did he go with Morse in the end? Morse, I can't remember. Yeah. Right. So he does that with the watch, secondhand.
So I think she just connects the fact that she was fascinated with kind of Morse code binary with the gravity lines in her house, and connects that with the watch ticking. But it feels very different things, and yeah, it's just not satisfying enough for me.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I know they have like the flashbacks with the, like at the very beginning, and then once you've seen the film, you realize when she's saying "stay," it says "stay, Dad," sort of at the very beginning. That of course makes sense because that's what Cooper was, from the bookcase conveying. But he gave her the watch and he went on about like synchronized time. So, but that's not him being influenced by the ghost saying, well, we need these watches. That's going to be important.
Yeah.
I didn't quite follow the whole watch thing. Really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's not enough to follow there. There's not enough of an emotional connection with this story to be like, oh, of course, and
the watch is still there.
It's not a particularly very satisfying reveal. It feels more of a rhythm problem when they're kind of cross-cutting both scenes together. Like, I feel like there could be some, I mean, I'm just guessing here, but there could be some shots, some little sequences where they have to kind of let go to make both scenes kind of work together rhythmically for the whole film to kind of work in that scene at the end. I'm just guessing, but
I mean, I understand why the speed and the pacing is how it is, because it is building up to the
it is really
dramatic ending.
Film, I think, for sure.
But I don't know, and I'm not really asking for more exposition. But on the other hand, I don't know. At some point, maybe they use something else, because everything else, I was, with the whole ghost and how they were communicating, him behind the bookcase and her 11-year-old Murph with the stay and all this kind of thing. That's fine. That okay, I get that. I still didn't quite get how quickly she made the connection with the watch. But I am not a genius like Murphy Cooper, so like, what do I know? I'm not saving the world.
Yeah. Favorite shot or scene for you, Heather? What are you going for?
Ooh, there are so many, aren't there? Yes, it's either the wormhole or I don't know, it feels a little bit cliche to say the docking sequence, but the docking sequence really is freaking good.
Yeah, for me, it's the docking sequence as well, but it's kind of everything that kind of leads up to that as well,
and the score and everything, everything, and then or the sound can. And what's at stake, and you really are invested every time I watch this. I'm like, I know they're going to do it, but and it's the spinning and the fact that he did it practically. This is incredible. Like, how? I mean, I know how because I read about it. Like, they literally
LED
built
screens
the
stuff.
they literally built it and everything. But it's just
so good. Yeah,
and that's what's at stake, and you're so bought in every time, even though you know it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I kind of loved. For me, it's kind of I love that whole kind of long sequence after Dr. Mann, Matt Damon's character, reveals he's a coward and lied about his planet, and you have this kind of fight between Cooper and Mann on this ice planet, which I think is really well judged. And Nolan, to his credit, does cut around it a bit, because I think two guys fighting in big space suits could look super goofy.
It does a little bit.
Nolan has been accused of cutting around fight scenes before, like in some of the ropey action scenes in The Dark Knight Rises. But here it's very justified, as it could look very funny. But thankfully it's not. And what I love also about the whole sequence is how it ends with these two incredible docking scenes. The first one with Dr. Mann just kind of, which stresses me out because kind of the fixed cameras are super heightened here, because Dr. Mann is at the controls of the ship and is all over the place. And the sound design is also very heightened too. When Dr. Mann kind of gets blown out of the airlock, you have kind of this complete silence of space while the explosion goes off. It's quite shocking, but not jarring, because Nolan has been kind of very consistent with kind of the silence of space throughout. Then you go straight into the second docking scene with Bran and Cooper docking with the Endurance, and this scene is I think is why so many people love this film, and it's because of the music from Hans Zimmer. It is absolutely on point, incredible. Like, the scene definitely has everything working in harmony: the visuals, sound, acting, and of course when Anne Hathaway blacks out, so maybe not so much the acting, because she doesn't have to do much. But the music is driving everything. Plus the subtle metronome score starts as soon as Dr. Mann kind of betrays Cooper on the ice and takes off his microphone thing off his helmet, and builds until they kind of dock and fly out of orbit. That second docking scene, as you say, in particular, is probably one of my favorite Nolan scenes he's ever done.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's also a good, you mentioned earlier Project Hail Mary, and people were comparing the fishing scene in that to docking sequence, and I'm like, mate, it's not close. Come on. Like, sure.
Completely different tone.
Yeah. And yeah, it's also kind of impressive and it's well shot, blah, blah, blah. But come on. Like, it's not even close.
No.
Clearly, it's probably been inspired a little bit by it, like, oh, I've got to get something and be very precise about it. But but Project Hail Mary, I don't know. I've ranted enough about it. Like, I didn't even hate the film, but it's just the fact that so many people were so like, oh my God, it's like the best film ever. And I'm like, really? Is it? Is it really?
It's weird because like I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling, like physical comedy. I'm a big fan, and it just didn't work for me that well.
It was too much. I'm not a great fan of physical comedy. I think he's very good at it, but it's just not my kind of thing. So it started really badly for me. Like, because that's literally like the first thing. Because is his physical comedy when he's like falls out of his place?
I don't know. I think for me with like Project Hail Mary, I just feel like there's an element of approaching like space, relatively realistic space films to have some serious tune to it.
So
it doesn't have that so much.
Exactly. It's the tonal shifts in that film. I'm like, got whiplash here, because I'm like, is this supposed to be a comedy or like what are we doing? And then when they go shopping in freaking Home Depot, I'm like, what are we doing? Why is this supposed to be funny? I don't know. I mean, I guess so. But see, whereas Interstellar, you said earlier, it's actually for Nolan quite funny. Like it's thanks to the robots, but that works because it's kind of more natural. Whereas Project Hail Mary just went over the top. Like I thought, but
like you always find like the best humor when tension is rife and when like the situation is very serious, and when you get a random joke from Cooper or Case or Tars, it's just like, oh, that's really funny. It just breaks the tension a little bit. It works so well.
Well, there was the bit where all the whole thing about man and that you can be trusted, and then Tars or Case, they say, oh, we already deactivated some functionality that the autopilot or something that he wanted to have, and they were like, I'm like, oh, and he goes, yes, and he says, it goes on about like, my trust levels are only at like sort of 90% or something like that. So that was
that was cool. Directing score though, Heather, for Interstellar, what are you going with? You went for 9.4 for The Prestige.
Yeah, I did, and I think again, this is to me, this is a directorial achievement. The weak points are elsewhere in this film. We've got first collaboration with Hoyt and Hoytema. We've got I question whether, as much as I love Wally Fist, I love his work. Could he have done this? We'll never know. I don't know.
Maybe at a smaller scale, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly.
And Nolan would be like, well, it's got to be as big as possible.
Yeah. So that's interesting that he made that switch with this film. We have Hans Zimmer score. We have the whole visual effects, obviously, which it won the Oscar for. We have production design. I don't understand why cinematography, by the way, didn't get nominated, but also the sound, sound mixing, sound editing. What have we got? Yeah, production design, VFX, which it won. Sound editing, sound mixing, score, obvious. I would have given it probably a few more nominations, but whatever. The practical effects, and it's just, as I say, my problems with this film are not in the directing. This is incredible achievement, and this is Nolan like firing on all cylinders. Ha ha ha! Yeah. Very funny. So I have it at a 9.8 for direction.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes, I know. I as much as I mean, Prestige is my favorite, but this is. I mean, this is not where I'm taking points off Interstellar.
Yeah, I think this film is certainly one of his biggest and most ambitious projects he's ever done, I think. But then you think about all the others in life, it's pretty huge. We haven't seen the Odyssey yet, and that looks pretty humongous. So, but again, I just feel like there are some rhythmical problems with how like Doyle in particular is presented during his death scene. And other than that, there's not much to fault here, to be honest. And even just the kind of the commitment to go super practical back on Earth with all the dust stuff and using like
and
huge
the corn
fans,
that he actually built,
grew,
planted,
and chucking tons of dust at all the actors for real.
Must have hated him.
Yeah.
It's like already moaning at the Odyssey, like, we had to walk 45 minutes to get to this cave in the back end of Blue Island. We still love Chris.
Yeah. But yeah, the sense of scale and just sort of wonder as well. And even, to the design of the Tesseract at the end felt very thought out in a very kind of ideological sense as well as with the visual storytelling. So I don't think I'll go as high as a 9.8, but I'll go like a 9.7. I still,
so far away.
But I think it's just tiny little issues with just the rhythm of some of the shots.
Yeah, I mean, I have issues potentially with the pacing, but part of me is like, I don't think that's a problem of the direction. So, and I just think everything else is so of a ridiculously high quality that I have to take off something somewhere, just maybe from a pacing, perhaps, but that's maybe more writing than direction. Yeah. I just, as I say, I think if we're thinking like Nolan films and what am I giving the 10 for direction to? I mean, it'll be Oppenheimer. Like, get a 10 for direction.
For sure.
But everything else I can find, because with the direction, I'm pulling everything, as I said earlier in the Prestige episode. This is where I bring everything into it. Yeah. So as apart from the writing and the acting. So,
favorite lines? I've got a bunch. You told me to keep driving. Well, I guess that answers the old "if I asked you to drive off a cliff" scenario.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do like the Dr. Man. There's a 50-50 chance you're going to kill yourself, and Dr. Man says, "Those are the best odds I've had in years."
Yeah. Are you telling me it takes 2 numbers to measure your own ass, but only 1 to measure my son's future? That was a good one near the beginning.
I think my favourite one is probably "The mankind was born on Earth. It was never meant to die here."
Yeah,
Again,
that's a great
kind
one.
Of summing up the whole thing, really, whole dilemma.
When like Cooper is really pissed off about being sort of hijacked by NASA initially, and he says, and he's talking to one TARS, I think, and he says, "I think I'll turn you into an overqualified vacuum cleaner." Is a great one.
So any good lines with the robots, yeah. I like the bit where they explain like why did you and Mom name me after something that's bad? We didn't. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law doesn't mean something bad will happen. It means that whatever can happen will happen, and that sounded just fine to us, which is, I think, is also quite little premonition for the film. Yep.
What's your humour setting, TARS? That's 100%. Let's bring it down to 75, please.
Oh, yeah, no. That at the beginning, I'd completely forgotten he brings out all these terrible dad jokes as well.
Yeah. Every hour we spend on that planet, it will be 7 years back on Earth. That's relativity. That's relativity, folks.
Time is relative, okay? It can stretch and it can squeeze, but it can't run backwards. It just can't. The only thing that can move across dimensions like time is gravity.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Quite a prominent one a deep one from Matt Damon, Dr. Man, where he says, "Pray you never learn just how good it can be to see another face." Is a deep one for sure.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. This made me smile today. This little maneuver is going to cost us 51 years. You don't sound so bad for pushing 120.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, and probably my favourite one is obviously during the second docking scene, where I think Tars says, "Okay, get ready to match up our spin with the retro." No, Cooper says, "Okay, get ready to match up our spin with the retro thrusters. It's not possible. No, it's necessary." And it's
yes.
Goosebumps.
Yes. So that is a super mega cliche line, which I'm just like, normally I'd be like, oh, but it's like, it's okay, I'll forgive you, because a lot of these really
it's justified.
It is. There's a few that I was like, oh no. This one is also kind of like, oh no, but it's like, it's fine. It's okay. We'll let it pass. We'll let it pass.
Screenplay score then, Heather. What are you going for Interstellar?
This is where I unfortunately do have to bring it down a bit.
Sure.
I just, there's just like too many things here where I'm like, this is thing about the pacing. This is where I'm going to pull the points off for the pacing at the end. I know we're saying about like the science, and it's like, well, in many other science fiction films, we don't care. Like, we don't care. We all know it's completely rubbish, but we're still like going along with it. Why are we so critical of Nolan? And it's because he did make a big thing about making it as realistic as possible. So that is where I unfortunately do have to say, if I am not buying into the science the whole way through, then that is a problem with the writing. I'm sorry. I love you, Sir Chris. Right? This is, I'm really sorry. Yeah. And then there's just some... It works as part of the bigger spectacle, but some of the lines are just cheesy as hell. So I have a 7.8.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right.
It's quite funny because I was actually on another podcast, The Lone Screenplay, where it wasn't the part of the main show, because obviously it didn't win screenplay. It was just kind of like a film that had won just one Oscar. And I was actually on defending Interstellar screenplay. Yes.
Okay.
But this guy
really didn't like it then.
Matthew was really low. Like, he was like, this is a pile of crap. This is a thing. And I told him the other day, I said, I'm coming on another podcast and you will laugh. I said, because I'm actually going to be more probably the low person in Interstellar, because I want my film to win. And he's like, oh, this is going to be funny. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think on any other day I might be higher. Today I was clearly in one of those moods where it's like, Heather's finding everything, like, Heather's being very cynical. Heather's finding everything like twee. Ask me another day, I might be giving it a 9.5.
Do you want to reschedule this segment, or no?
If we've done it next week, it might be different. You don't know.
I normally do it on the other weekend. Exactly. So my screenplay score certainly won't be in the 9s, that's for sure. But as I said, I do really admire kind of this scientific kind of speculation that Nolan is trying to go for. He's trying to do his 2001 thing that Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke did way back when, in the late 60s. And I really admire the ambition of that. And I've got to give him credit to that. And I don't think it entirely works with, the whole idea of how they see love in this story. But again, I really admire the ambition that they went there. I really like all the lines. They're really funny, and just how everything is kind of with the writing, the kind of the political setting is really interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
Of how, where people's minds are at in terms of their ambition of sort of manipulating hope with this big lie that's revealed in this film, which is a huge surprise when you watch it for the first time. I really love that. So there's a lot of great work here in the screenplay, and just having this commitment to really trying to work out the science behind space-time and how that and gravity and all how that is related with space travel. So I really do appreciate that. So I'll go like an 8.7 for me. Favorite performance for you, Heather?
Yeah, it's hard to go beyond McConaughey, quite frankly.
Not Tars?
So that guy who does Tars, I can't remember, the name is slipping, and I'm really annoyed because I know it and I can't remember. He's doing Cyclops in the Odyssey.
That's cool.
Bill something. Oh God. Ooh, fail. This is terrible. Anyway, he's doing Cyclops.
Bill Irwin.
There you go. I told you it was Bill. Me and Bill were in first name terms. It doesn't matter what his surname is. Yeah, he's really good. No, I mean, it's hard to see beyond McConaughey, quite frankly, because again, it's a sense.
It carries you through it, doesn't it?
It carries the whole film. Now, he does have moments where we're going a little melodramatic, as Matthew McConaughey sometimes does. But we're in the main throes of like the McConaissance. Has he just come off his Oscar? I think the Oscar was the year before. He's got this Wolf of Wall Street that he did. It was also like a supporting role. So he's booked and busy, and he's doing much more interesting, like dramatic roles, which is great, which we like to see. Now, I do find that some of it does go a bit big. I mean, I do love Michael Caine in this, being a little bit antagonistic. Yeah. And you can really, you said it earlier, you can really see the struggle that he has, portraying that on his deathbed and his confession to Jessica Chastain. Secretly though, I actually really just want to call out Mackenzie Foy, because I think she is fabulous. What happened to her? Like, that's such an amazing kid performance. And I mean, Timothée Chalamet's gone off and had success. What happened to her? So good.
Yeah, it's a good question. Maybe just went back to school.
Yeah, maybe just went and had a life. Yeah. And it is a really good Damon cameo. So
he's always good. So
that's a good one. This is also interesting with Damon. Now he had that tiny role, then he had the bigger supporting role in Oppenheimer. Now he's leading the Odyssey, or is he? Because there's rumors that might actually be Tom Holland who's the lead, but I don't believe that. Yes, so I will. I mean, in Chastain, I know you kind of criticised her a bit, but I don't think that's her problem. That's the writing.
No, it's not her performance.
It's the writing. On the writing, I failed to say that actually this is a film with decent females roles.
Yes, absolutely.
Anne Hathaway, I have issues with a lot of the lines. That's not her fault. But that character is developed, and with her conflict with her love for Wolf Edmonds and knowing that the data is pointing them. So I forgot to shout that out.
There is one element of the story where, going back to screenplay, that I would have liked to have seen, like Cooper reunite with with Brandt on Edmund's planet. I thought that would have been quite a nice little scene.
Is he alive though? Do we assume because he'd stopped sending data?
No, I mean Cooper
and Brandt. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Edmund and Brandt.
Yeah,
on Edmund's. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I was like, because Edmund's presumably gone, but
he's dead for sure. I think. But I think that would have been such a nice moment to kind of end on, maybe.
I think that would have pushed my screenplay down even further, because then I would have been rolling even harder with the eyes. I think on the screenplay, I do kind of have to say that I love the themes of this film. Like, I absolutely love it. And if you're pulling that into the screenplay, it's like, great. I just think that the actual words on the page is not doing it for me as much. The themes are there, which is part of the screenplay, but it's the word. So, nothing against the themes are great. Yeah. But anyway, so I don't know. It's McConaughey holds the whole thing together, but I do really want to shout out Mackenzie Foy, because it's a really good kid performance.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Matthew McConaughey. Like, you go through this whole journey with him, so it's kind of difficult to justify picking anyone else, really. So Matthew McConaughey for me. He certainly goes through the ringer.
He goes through emotions. Yeah. Yes.
It's certainly very physical performance as well, with all kind of working with all these sort of practical sets and stunts and stuff. So
but he's still got the McConaughey swagger as well. That's the thing. He's still got that Texan swagger thing, like a bit of a. Yeah. It is funny with him because his voice it's kind of been imitated so much. And I think he also imitates himself, when he did his Oscar speech with all right. So he kind of memes himself in a way. Yeah. But I mean, it works in this case. Like it's fun, I think, because he needs that kind of bravado as well to be confident and like I know what I'm doing. I am like the best pilot, and I am making this decision. So he needs to be believable. So he never really overdoes it. But I think he's a believable character.
Yeah, absolutely. Acting score though, Heather, for Interstellar, what are you going for?
I have written down a 9.2.
Very nice.
Yes, because I don't think there's anything really. There's nothing really. There's no Scarlett Johansson bringing it down, but there's no. I was higher, I know, on Prestige, but that's because everything was like top notch, and we have best ever Jackman performance and all this kind of thing. Here, I'm like, I don't think it's anybody's necessarily best ever performance.
Not.
That's the thing. I don't think there's anybody. Oh, John Lithgow's really good as well. Yeah. But I don't think there's anybody. There's nobody here apart from probably Mackenzie Foy who hasn't done something better in something else, and they're all good.
Yeah,
there's nothing,
definitely.
And some of my issues again are going back to the writing. I said this about Hathaway. There's just certain lines I'm not buying from her, but that's not her fault.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah, for me, with my score, I think I might match you up, to be honest, with a 9.2. Everyone's amazing, and I kind of just love the level of kind of quality with the voice acting as well, with Tars and Case, with this idea that you can change the humor settings, and their performances are matched up with that so brilliantly. With the honesty settings as well, you can definitely hear that in the voice performance too. So 9.2.
Yeah, no, pretty good film. As I say, it's just I don't know. As I say, ask me in another day, and I'm giving the writing higher. But it was just I was clearly in a cynical mood today. So.
Yeah. Right, let's add up the scores then for Interstellar.
Must be close because we were like really high in directing.
Yeah. Interstellar gets a very impressive 54.4. So
I won.
The Prestige wins by a single point with 55.4.
That's fair though, because as much as I say that the Prestige is my favourite, I know fully well that it's not a showy one. It's not. If you're taking pure directorial achievement of Christopher Nolan, that's not the Prestige. It's like that's a much smaller film.
Yeah. The Prestige is a screenwriting achievement,
and that's where the biggest difference was, wasn't it? It's like I mean, not with you because you still had the writing, but you did have the writing high for the Prestige. But I mean, that's where I had the biggest. Yeah, I mean, that's where I had the biggest thing, and everything else. I think everything else I had. No, acting was about the same, I think. And
9.1, 9.2.
I had Interstellar. Yeah.
Yeah. So
winning directing. Yeah. And that's as I say, I think Interstellar. Oh, I can now reveal. I think I do have it at like 5 of Nolan's.
That's still pretty high, I think.
No, well, it went up about 4 spots after the non-plane rewatch.
Right.
And that's because that's where the directorial stuff all comes out, isn't it? In like the immersive cinema experience. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Next episode, we'll be returning to our Legends episode, because I always find August, there's just not a lot of interesting things that come out in that month. So we're returning to our Legends episode, and we're kind of continuing our sort of Legends episode of Bond films. So we're doing Roger Moore Bond films this time with the returning guest, our James Bond expert, Brian, from the Reviewing History podcast. So that should be an exciting one. Heather, you have been amazing. I always love your insights on films. Such an entertaining podcast. Absolutely fantastic. This is your opportunity again to talk about like upcoming things that's happening with you.
Well, when this drops, because we're recording like quite early due to various schedules, recently did a Steven Spielberg draft for the release of Disclosure Day with Morgan at Hall of Film and Amanda also on the Rev Almanac team. So that will be out. I think he's usually quite quick at editing, so that will be out when this is out. I'm also doing a Nolan ranking with Morgan as well.
Nice.
And I have recording in a couple of weeks. I am going out of my comfort zone, and I am doing a horror bracket episode with Horror Hour with the Hannahs, where I completely we're doing neon horror films, and I'm like, this will be fine. I'm sure I've done it like loads, but they're picking the top 12 according to like Letterboxd or IMDb rankings, and I've realized I've seen like 3 of them, so I'm like, oh my god. So I've got a lot of horror to watch over the next couple of weeks. I am doing quite well. I'm now like I think I'm over half of the ones I have to watch, so that's gonna be fun. So that's, I think I'm recording with them on the early July, so nice. In a couple of weeks time. And then few other things coming up like in autumn and stuff like that. So, but
excellent.
And all previous content, a lot of it on the Rev Almanac channel, and we'll see when we can get that kicked up again after the hiatus, however you say it. I knew I was going to struggle over that word. We said it before we started recording. I was like,
Right, it's time to say goodbye, people. I know it's very sad, but it has to happen, and I need to go to bed.
I'm an hour later. So.
It is goodbye from Heather. Bye. Say goodbye, Heather.
Goodbye, Heather.
And it is goodbye from me. I'm going to probably look at libraries and bookshelves a bit differently now. And just
you never know what's hiding behind it.
See if there's a ghost behind there.
Yeah, are you watching closely?
Yes. Bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.